Your compliments, dear esteemed viewer, and welcome to our today's edition of Citizens and the Law on ABS Television, Channel 24, Oka. Citizens and the Law is a program aimed at demystifying all issues standing as strange before the gullible heads and laypersons towards the knowledge of their rights, defense of this rights, as well as becoming law-abiding citizens. Our topic for today is breaches of peace. Some lawyers may prefer to call it disturbances of the public peace or offenses against public peace or offenses again against public order. Some may prefer to call it offenses against public tranquility. Breaches of peace deals with peace of the community, without which there will be clogs here and there in the societal wheel of progress. And I have with me here in the studio two gentlemen to get the I's and T's dotted and crossed vis-a-vis the provision of answers to the questions I am going to pose to get this topic clear. By my immediate right is CSP, Chief Superintendent of Police, in the person of Rabiu Garoba, the police boss of Feke Police Community. Chief, you're welcome to the studio.
You're welcome, thank you.
And at the other end, I have a legal gentleman, one of the usual guys that used to come here, a regular guest, very important one. I'm talking about Barrister Larry Emeka Nwangu. Counsel, you're welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
So, like, I am Jude Mascot Obiago, the anchor or the presenter of this program. Like I said earlier, Counsel, I want to start from you by asking you, what is breaches of peace?
When we want to talk about a breach of peace, let us first try to understand what is actually peace. In a given society, when public tranquility is maintained, when social harmony is enhanced by relationships that are cordial, where citizens do not on their own take the law into their hands or in any way disturb public peace and tranquility, such situation connotes where there is peace. And when this is somehow thwarted, then a situation of a breach of peace arises, which always falls within the ambit of the criminal law, which sees it as an offense against the public peace, an offense against the orderliness of a society. So in a nutshell, this is what peace and breach of it entails.
CSP Rabiu Garoba, many times when people come to the police stations, you see people accused of breaches of peace in various dimensions. Can you now tell us why people are always brought to the police station? A lot of times breaches of peace. What's your own dimension of the definition of these breaches of peace?
In order to give him a little background, a breach of peace, when you look at it, apart from a physiological need, the next thing is the need for security. And that security is a situation whereby you provide safety to the entire community. In short, there is a social contract theory there, that the members of the citizen pay their tax, obey law and order, and in turn it is the duty of the state to provide security and peace to those communities. And that is why we are established to ensure public safety. Apart from your physiological need, you must be protected to ensure development in that society. So in a situation where there is a resistance of breach of peace, it is the police that is saddled with the responsibility, more especially under Section 4 of the Police Act and Regulation, Cap 359 Laws of the Federation 1990, to ensure public safety in every setting they find themselves. So that's why members of the public, in an event where their peace is being breached, in different form, the only remedy is to come to police station because it is criminal.
Okay, Council, I don't know. Most times there used to be some conflict or some misunderstanding between the police, or wrongfully dragging people along, bringing them to court and all that. Is there any areas of conflict when people are charged with these breaches of peace that you may like to highlight so that CSP will be able to tell us more?
Actually, the issue of charging people for breach of peace, first, there must be like the way we are looking at breach of peace, unlawful assembly can also lead to breach of peace. For instance, for us to say that people who have assembled has a common intent and to do some certain things, that common intent now leads that assembly to be regarded as unlawful, because it is that common intent they have that will now bring that assemblage into, as assembling of people into unlawful assembly. And that unlawful assembly, there is what we usually call the reasonable man test, because that a people have assembled cannot just ordinarily mean that they have assembled unlawfully, because there must be a common intention for them to do something that is against the law, or to breach the peace, or to disturb the peace of the community or the area. So that is where the reasonable man's test come in. That reasonable man's test has to do with a reasonable man seeing such gathering. Will he run into conclusion to say that these people have the likelihood, or there is a tendency of this gathering degenerating into breach of peace? That is where now the unlawful assembly comes in. Because when you look at unlawful assembly, then you now look at riot. There are slight distinctions between both of them.
I want you to stop at this unlawful assembly before you get into riot. CSP Rabiu Garba, even though you are a matured and a very fine police officer so far, from information I've gathered from the public, but then at times the rank and file may commit to one offense or the other, and it is generalized to the whole police officers. I don't know, this issue of unlawful assembly, do your men at times arrest people maybe when they're enjoying themselves, or to what extent now will the police say that this gathering has become unlawful, and are all the arrests in order?
I want to state succinctly what these breaches of peace, the categories of it, so that it will be very, very easy for us to understand. Under breaches of peace, we have unlawful society, we have unlawful assembly, we have riotous assembly, we have inciting disturbance, we have threatening violence, we have publication that may attract either on a dead person or living person that can result to crisis. So they are of different category. So as it is, the unlawful society, when 10 or more persons gather and they conduct, they can come on a common good intention, maybe for a prayer summit or to carry out a certain thing. Such an assembly is seen to be lawful at that level. But by the time that it is becoming tumultuous, threatening the security, making the people present to become apprehended, such assembly has become, and such society has become a lawful society, like secret society. They are designed purposely, which they promote murder, killing of other people, such assembly from 10 and above. Once it is not for goodwill to the state, it's rather to jeopardize the course of administration in one way or the other, as that become unlawful society. In that case, if we see person with exenia, it is presumed innocent until when we prove, either with badge or something, until it is proved that he's a member of that society, because we will be liable. And these are issues that we cannot institute proceeding without the consent of the Attorney General of that of the state or that of the Federation. But in an event of arrest, we have power even to run into the house where we know there is an unlawful assembly or unlawful society, which may lead to the break of law and order. Any superior officer can order such, we can go in. So, but after such assembly, then we have that is unlawful society. Then unlawful assembly is where 3 or more persons gathered in order to carry out, or they assemble in a good faith, but later the motive of that assembly have now metamorphosed and changed to something else. Maybe they started fighting, started rioting, started shooting. So in that situation, any person that goes as a member of that person is a member of unlawful assembly.
Can you give an example?
Example, like there is a political meeting, and after a political meeting, there is a disagreement.
Yeah.
Then the supporters started using weapon and etc. It has become members of unlawful assembly.
Such as Nigerian primaries most times.
Of course.
Okay, Council.
When you talk about, let me just chip in a little.
Yeah.
When you talk about a gathering of maybe 2 political parties,
Yes.
in the first place, these 2 political parties may also gather with good intention. They may gather for all purpose and intent with good intention.
Yeah.
But situation may arise where one of those political parties may start singing song to the annoyance or to the provocation of the other political party. It is at that very point that the assembly can now become unlawful.
Yes.
And then the police will come and start making arrests. So what do you have to say about that?
Yes, in making such arrests, the police there are procedures laid down by law through which some of these things could actually be done. For instance, if it is clear or there is a reasonable belief and conviction that this gathering actually is towards a breach of peace, then, and when I was trying to draw the distinction between unlawful assembly and maybe rioting, rioting is when these people who have gathered together unlawfully now start disturbing the peace. It is the actual putting into effect of disturbance or tumultuous or riotous behavior of these people that begins to disturb the peace of the community or the environment that makes it a riot. Then the police need to, not only just the police, the magistrate, superior army officers, any person can take initiative under the law to see how they can despise or dismiss or ask the people to just...
I will ask you a question on that, but that should be when we come back, when the police or the chief magistrate or somebody of high-ranking officer can take initiative of dispersing an illegal assembly, so to say. But that will just take place when we come back from break. We are going to observe break now, and when we come back, we are going to open the lines. Remember, this is Citizens and the Law on ABS Television, Channel 2 for Oka. And the topic we are handling here is breaches of peace. And with me here in the studio, I have CSP Rabiu Garba, our police boss of our Fege community, and also I have Barrister Larry Emeka Nwangwu. So we'll be right back after the break. Okay, you are welcome back, dear esteemed viewer. In case you want to ask any question, you can call us. The numbers are clearly written on your screen there. They are 090720, not 720, 090729 72090, 090729 72090. The other one is 070 24192. Those numbers are there on your screen. You can call us and then ask your question or questions. Okay, the question I have with me here next is has offense of affray. Okay, you were saying something before I cut you, Counsel. You were saying something about Chief Magistrate picking up initiative when there is an unlawful assembly. Before that, let's pick this caller. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Tune down the volume of your TV set.
Yeah.
Tune down the volume of your TV set. We can hear you. Hello.
Are you hearing now?
Yeah, what's your name and location? But still tune down the volume of your TV set so that we can hear you better.
Okay. My name is Charles Nwoke from Oka.
Charles Nwoke.
Yes, Nwoke.
Okay, Charles Nwoke from Oka.
Go
ahead and ask your question.
Yes, my question goes in this way. Sometimes you find out that these policemen who are to keep law and order to protect citizens will now go to maybe where they are drinking beer and otherwise, begin to gather people and push to their net. How do you see that type of offense?
Do you get the question?
Yeah, what you are saying is that maybe police go where there's a gathering in a beer parlor where people are enjoying their self or their leisure time and they are being apprehended by police. How do we see it? In short, the action of the police is not fair. Then police carry out raiding, but mostly not at the beer parlor, at the black spot where drugs are being sold, where people are selling drugs, where criminals patrol, patronize to ensure that at least they have checkmate the activities of the criminal, not to settle and carry out such their nefarious activities. So in an event where they go to those areas and once they search and interrogate, they discover nothing incriminating, they allow the members of the public to continue. But in an event where there is an abuse of activities, such conduct should be reported to police officer. My commissioner is very proactive. Those are always open to receive such behaviors that are unethical to the force, and he take necessary measures. He has been assigned vehicle to patrol all clubs in Oka to ensure that the people enjoy their life without any infringement. He was even extending to Onitsha that he wants a nightlife to take place in Onitsha. He don't want a situation where people go and lock themselves in their house and they cannot go out for their own leisure as if they are prisoners in their own land. So those activities is very wrong. In an event where they arrest you innocently from a beer parlor and you are being meted any hardship, you report the conduct to the command. Proper measures will be taken. Thank you.
Okay, that's a balanced statement. At times there might be some lapses, but on the general note, the aim is to checkmate wrong things, loss of lives, injuries, stealing and burglary, and stealing from taking place. Okay, thank you very much. Council, I also want to ask you, do you have anything to add there? People are enjoying themselves in beer parlor, and once in a while, the police might come and clamp on them, rightly or wrongly. Do you have anything to say?
Actually, when you also relate the scenario the caller has actually painted, the police sometimes can also maybe carry out an arrest, because a situation where people are enjoying themselves in a beer parlor or they are watching a football match, and along the line there is a misunderstanding that divides them along club lines, and they will now start disturbing the peace of the community. The police can also arrest them, because it will also fall within the ambit of this breach of peace, which we are actually discussing. But their first intention of coming to that place primarily is not to resort into breach of peace or fighting or disturbance of the peace of the community. But it can result to that in cause of misunderstanding or their stay. And this certainly falls within the ambit of the breach of peace, which the police also has the right to actually maintain peace and order.
Okay, now I want two of you to put us together, but starting from you, Counsel, I still want that thing you said to be to come to an end about the magistrate or a senior police officer or army officer, you know, trying to disperse an illegal assembly. You were saying something there, sir.
When I was looking at it from the point of set down standard and rules on how to manage an unlawful assembly, because sometimes the assembly of those people will be legal, it might not be unlawful, and sometimes it can now result to unlawful assembly, like I have stated before now. The procedure is that the police officer, maybe the magistrate, a Navy officer, or any person.
Police officer of any rank?
Not of from ASP.
Okay.
They can, on their own, take out steps to ensure that they disperse the crowd or the gathering. And by so doing, they can also make a proclamation in the name of the state. And when they do this, it is expected that the people who are therein will start dispersing, and a situation, because the law says that they may do all things. That word may there is not a must. They may do all things in order to disperse the crowd.
In the face of resentment?
And that may means that they could also use diplomacy. They could also use their number 6. They could also use some other people who can appeal to those people, or who has the respect and command
where
of those
there is
people.
absolute refusal and disobedience to that effort.
I am coming to that.
Okay.
A situation where they now refuse, or where maybe, should I say, 10 or more of them refuse, or maybe they now resist. 12 of them refuse, and they now maybe resort to a violence in order to prevent them from dispersing those crowds. The law also now says that they may also, because the words uses, they may also use reasonable force. I'm trying to emphasize on the language of the law. The law says they may use reasonable force. And in using reasonable force also, the law also said that if in the event of doing that, death occurs, both criminal and civil proceeding cannot be maintained against the person who have tried to disperse the crowd. So you see the way the law has graduated a situation where there is unlawful assembly and there is need to disperse or to set those people on their way without them going down into doing anything that is unlawful. So this procedure must strictly be adhered to. And when you talk about reasonable force, when you talk about reasonable force, then the law also has to look at the reasonability of the resistance. Because if the resistance is mere, I must be here, and you know that ordinarily a little pushing, either with their distance or whatever, can make those people to disperse, then resorting to shooting will not arise.
Okay.
So this is a place where education, exposure, we see it how even the whites conducts that. Some of them can stop the crowd just by mere holding hand and not by gun.
We are trying to make use of time that remains for us. Okay, I'll come back to you, Chief Rabiu Garuba, but just before that, let's go on break. We'll be right back. We are talking about using a reasonable force. You are talking about the time to take action and the measure of action. Okay, I want you, before I will go to the police boss here, to give me a little explanation of this reasonable force.
Like I was saying before, a reasonable force depends on the amount of resistance being put up by the riotous assembly.
Yeah.
If their resistance is mere throwing of pure water, a return of such force cannot be reasonable by shooting the crowd. That's the point I'm making. So there must be a reasonability with respect to the amount of force or the resistance being put up by the assembly. And whoever is trying to despise them must also ensure so that there will be an action in line with the provisions of the law, in line with the letters of the law.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, CSP, to what extent, how do you think, or can you tell us how to get this illegal assembly dispersed? Must the police be invited? Should the magistrate do it all alone, or whoever? If the police must come, can you give us, from the experience point, how it should be?
It is a very simple situation.
Please hold it, let me know if we can get this caller. Hello? Go ahead.
It is a stress situation. My friend by the side has already mentioned much about it, that in an event of riots, the senior police officer or a magistrate ought to have at least read a proclamation. So once the assembly has transformed, metamorphosed into a riotous...
Sorry. Hello? Hello? Yeah, your name and location. Go ahead, please.
So once an assembly has metamorphosed into a riotous situation, the magistrate or the police need to read a word of proclamation. For instance, say, hey, in the name of head of state, all persons assembly here are commanded to disperse peacefully to go home or about their lawful business. Persons who disobey this order are liable to disperse by force or to be imprisonment of 5 years. Go save the head of state. After that, as a senior officer from a superintending cadre, that is from ASP 1 star upward, that is a commission officer. After that, you have to give a reasonable time. Reasonable time that after this warning, you see whether they comply or not. Then after that, if there is, you take necessary measure, because protection of life and property is one of our fundamental duty. It is not, as the council say, you may. A magistrate is not statutory to protect life and property because his duty is interpretation of law. But as a police officer, you are duty bound Once there's a break of law and order that can claim life and property, no may, you shall protect and contain the situation to make sure you ensure normalcy is back. Then in that regard, as a senior officer, you are commissioned, going by your level of education and rank, you have a lot of responsibility, you know what to do. So after this word of proclamation, you take all measures. Those measures will observe them. Police officers are well exposed today. They take psychological approach. They go to conflict resolutions. They use community. They use leaders. If you can see at Newi police, I've been patching road. We practice community policing. Is it to discuss with stakeholders? Is it to key the key responsible people in that community? If that one failed, and it has become necessary that they use what we call limitation of use of force and lethal weapon. So by the time the use of force and lethal weapon become necessary, we started from baton section. If you look at our riot barre practice, we started with baton. From baton, it failed, we go to tear gas. From tear gas, it become necessary. When it becomes necessary as to use of lethal weapons such as gun, then at that time we read another proclamation. To go home or fire will be used. That means the members of the public are now conscious that police are ready to use firearm. While using firearm, we use almost 4 doctrine. We use what is called plan, P-L-A-N. P, that's doctrine of proportionality. Proportionality, we have to look at the gravity of the attack. Is it consuming life? Is it consuming property? How do we go about it? It has become necessary. Tear gas and everything failed. Then we now bring the idea of using of lethal weapon to ensure that it is proportionate with the attack. That's to say, the attack and the counter-attack is at equilibrium. Then we have the second L, legality. Is the action legal? Can we defend it? Then that is the second L. The A, can we account for the action? That is accountability. Then last N, for the plan, that is necessity. Does it become necessary? So for a policeman to use a firearm, when with our lectures and our management team in the command, they make a use of firearm to become a last resort, so that both the police officer and the members of the public are at equilibrium. And it's rightly said that once you are justified to use that firearm, whoever lost his life at that process, he lost his life, and police will not be liable for any action.
I'll come back to you. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah? Your name and location?
I'm in Chicken.
Huh?
Chicken.
Chicken, so can I be Sabo, from where are you calling us?
From Israel.
From?
From Israel.
Nice.
From Nice?
From Israel.
From Isulo. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Okay. What is it?
Huh?
Breaches.
We're not getting you. Fine. Hello?
Breaches.
Hello?
Yeah, your name and location?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Kevin Eze.
Kevin Eze.
I'm calling from Onitsha, Pege.
Okay, Kevin Eze from Onitsha. Go ahead, Kevin, and ask a question.
I want to ask a question.
Go ahead.
What are the police doing about Kapioko and the group of hooligans around that Victor Avenue Creek Road? We can pass there at least by 8 o'clock. You can pass through that place.
What do you call it? The Kapioko?
I understand what you are saying.
those people always gather at APZ, move and have an agreement to rob every evening that place. Last 2 weeks, a guy was stabbed there just because of they are trying to collect his phones and money.
Okay.
And there is nothing police are doing about it.
Okay. He has mentioned the problem, and he said there's nothing the police is doing about it. Is he correct?
He's asking what police are doing about it.
Okay.
I understand the area he's talking about, and I understand the guy he's talking about.
Yeah.
It's one of the miscreants that was involved in the saga of this revenue collection which it actually someone was stabbed. Almost 4 of their members are already in custody now. They are in prison. We have taken very fast action and smart one to ensure that we checkmate that black spot. That place is under check. He's giving an old story. He can pass freely, and my number is available in the entire Fege community, so that you can call on me wherever there's a problem. He can be a live witness that once he calls us, we respond. And by the way, the Commissioner of Police Anambra have directed that all the hideout, we are now on embalmment, proactive measure to crime, so that people will come to Anambra and celebrate their Christmas peacefully. So I don't think that will be a story as a thing of the past.
Okay, we are getting very close. Let's pick this caller. Maybe with this we are going to run off. Hello, your name and location. Hello. Tune down the volume of your TV set so that we can hear you.
Hello.
Yeah, tune down the volume. Hello? Tune down the volume of your TV set so that we can hear you. Okay. Back to a volume TV. Back to a volume TV. Can you feel it? What's your name and location? Okay, we are now in the Christmas season, the Yuletide period. And you rightly said that the able Commissioner of Police Anambra State has given instruction that all the nooks and crannies that is a threat to security situation in Anambra State are checkmated from anything that could lead to breach of peace takes place. Yes. So to what extent is this yielding fruit on the final note, because we are rounding off?
It is clear that it is when you look at like Onitsha, the almighty Onitsha, Opiweka, you go in the night, you see people travel up to the early hours of the day. So all the places that are no-go area, that has yielded a very positive result. Crime and criminality is at the lowest ebb in Anambra State, coupled with those proactive strategy he put in place. So those raiding of criminal hideouts, stop and search, visibility policing, raiding, intelligent drive police have yielded a very positive. These are the few out of the strategies for the embalmment, so that the Anambrians will come and celebrate their Christmas with their lovely ones.
I think if time permits us, we would have wanted to do more on this very topic. I don't know if this caller will get us fine. Hello, your name and location? Hello? We definitely have to do a cut 2 of this very program, more especially as we are in the Yuletide period. Breaches of law, cut 1 today, cut 2 is coming up next week if possible. So, dear esteemed viewer, this is where we call it a day or draw the curtain in our today's edition of Citizens Under the Law. I want to say a very big thank you to the police boss, Chief Superintendent of Police, Rabiu Garba, the police boss of Fege community, for attending this very program. Thank you very much, Rabiu, for coming.
I appreciate it.
And I also want to thank my very good friend, Barisa Larry Emeka Nwambo. You've been wonderful assisting and making sure that this program is what it should be. Thank you very much, Kanzo, for coming.
Thank you.
I am the presenter of this program, Jude Mascot Biago. Thank you very much for being part of it. Next week, we are coming back in another form.